Welcome to the Living a Nordic Life podcast, where we explore a simpler, cosier and more intentional life the Nordic way. I'm Fiona McKenna, your Nordic living guide and founder of Living a Nordic Life, where I share all things Nordic living and show you that a Nordic life is the way to bring intentional calm and healthy habits into your own life, wherever you are in the world. Are you looking for ways to bring simplicity, coziness and calm into your life? Well, let me show you how. Visit the Living a Nordic Life website to explore how I can help you on your journey to simple, healthy and happy calm, the Nordic way. You can subscribe to the podcast right here. And if you want regular inspirational emails sent with love from Norway and straight to your inbox, don't forget to subscribe to the Living a Nordic Life newsletters. And so now let's dive into our episode. Hello, and in this episode we're going to be talking about what a Nordic life feels like. I talk a lot about Nordic habits and aspects of Nordic living that we can bring into our own lives, but I haven't spoken yet about what that feels like to have those things in our life. And I want to invite you into my own life so that I can share a little bit about the Nordic habits and rituals and traditions that we have in my family and as a unique family in Norway, because I'm British and my partner's Norwegian, so we have a kind of combination of cultures. But a lot of that is Nordic living, and I want you to know how it feels to have those Nordic habits. Now, I've always maintained that anyone can have a Nordic life wherever they are in the world, and it's all a matter of a state of mind and just choosing to live a certain way. Pretty much the same as we do on a daily basis, whether we realise it or not. But it can also be very helpful to have that peek into how other people might live the Nordic life and how they do it. So here are some of the ways that I've adopted Nordic living since moving to Norway from England, and the parts of Nordic living that really make a difference to my life and help me connect more, not just with nature, but with my own physical and mental well-being. So the first one is knowing the benefits of fresh air. I'm always saying this, so apologies if I sound like a broken record, but it is so true. Fresh air, whether in the country or a city park or even on your own doorstep, is so good for our mental and physical health. Most people in Scandinavia get outside every single day, and we can all have a piece of that in our lives. We just have to choose to do it. There's always a moment when we can stop and take a deep breath of fresh air. It's something I do every morning. I go out very early to let my chickens out. They're always up, especially when the days get a little bit longer and we don't have very much night, so they like to get up about 5 o'clock. So I love those moments when it's completely silent, of just standing on the doorstep and having a couple of breaths of fresh air. It's a great way to start the day. Not worrying about the weather is number 2. And how many times have you heard the saying that there's no such thing as bad weather, only the wrong clothes? And it's a great maxim to live by. This goes hand in hand with what I've said before, just now, about getting outside and the benefits of fresh air. Don't be put off by a little bit of rain if you want to go out. Grab a coat and get out there. It's just water. It's not going to kill you. And if we didn't get outside in questionable weather in Scandinavia, we'd be stuck inside for 6 months of the year. The good days really are, the warm days really are few and far between. We have beautiful summers, but we also have very long winters. And autumn and spring is not always that wonderful either. So you really have to get into the habit of putting clothes on and getting outside. And you'll feel great when you do. And it feels great when you come inside as well. You can give yourself a little treat. So not being preoccupied with what the weather is doing is really liberating. My next one is starting the day early. That's what I was just saying about getting onto the doorstep and having a breath of fresh air. Life in the Nordic regions during the week generally starts early. People are up and getting about, making the most of the day. And I guess this is most important in the winter months when we have so little daylight. You want to make the most of the light that you have. But people also embrace that in the summer when we're all trying our best to enjoy the long days as much as possible. Bringing nature inside with you is one of my favourite things. And Norwegians love to be reminded of what lies outside the door. And a small bunch of wildflowers, picked in moderation and make sure you're not picking anything rare, is a delightful reminder of that. If you don't want to pick flowers, or you can't, then a house plant also brings freshness to your home and a calming greenery that is so good for the soul. But we can also enjoy it in the winter. Even a branch of something with some pretty lichen on, or something that has some beautiful bark, that's good as well. For me, when there's nothing else around, no greenery around, I pick a few pine branches and they last a very long time. They last about 3 weeks inside the house if you put them in water. And it's a great reminder that things are still growing. There's still greenery out there, even in the middle of the winter, when it might feel like everything is dead. My next point is take time for the niceties. We forget that, don't we, when we're rushing around doing all these things. Norwegians love to shake hands when they see each other. Maybe not the last couple of years, but we're getting back to that. And you can expect this from your doctor, teachers, in fact, anyone you meet. It's perfectly normal to shake hands when you meet someone and ask how they are. Those simple traditional niceties are something that's getting lost in some societies. And I, for one, love the fact that it is thriving in Nordic society. Like I said, unfortunately, things have been a little bit different in the past few years. And the handshake was replaced for a brief time with an elbow bump or a foot bump. But we're getting back there. But you can still say hello to people and ask them how they are and smile. Why not? My next point is eating seasonally and simply. I've said this before and I say this a lot. It's the kind of cornerstone of the Nordic diet, really. And in most of the Nordic countries, nothing much is cheap. And least of all foods that are out of season. They have a long way to come. There's always a celebratory aspect to the first Norwegian tomatoes arriving in the shops or the first Norwegian strawberries, and it helps us connect to when foods are naturally in season. Nordic food is traditionally mild and fairly simple cooking. Many of the older and more traditional recipes having been passed down through rural generations where they wouldn't have had access to more exotic spices and seasoning. But this love of simple cooking and easy meals is part of the culture here. It's good for everyday meals. Giving other people space and enjoying the space they give you. There's a bit of a joke actually in Norway that if one person is sitting on a bench, then that bench is full. And it's the same in the bus. There might be 2 seats, but if one person is sitting on that seat, that is full. Norwegians love to give each other plenty of space, and they hate to feel like they might be encroaching on a friend or a neighbour. It's not standoffishness, it's actually more a kind of caring aspect of it. It doesn't mean that they don't want to talk to you, but it's just that they respect your personal space. My next point is avoiding arguments. This is probably a slightly controversial one. And as an English person, I really had to learn this because we Brits can be a little confrontational at times, I will admit that. But Norwegians will avoid an argument at all costs. And argumentative types can find themselves being avoided. Having said this, when there is a disagreement, it is tackled with conviction and decisiveness, believe you me. My next point is keeping decor simple. I think you probably know this, don't you? You only have to have a quick Google of Scandinavian decor and you can see those beautiful clean lines. It's not very much fuss, very muted colours. And I'm not always an advocate of all things white, but in the Nordic countries, different shades of white usually define the decor. There's a very simple reason for it, and that is the lack of light in the winter. It's logical, isn't it? White reflects any light around, and things like white window frames reflect the light back into the house. Interior decor also tends to follow simple rules here. It's not gaudy or fussy, and it's not too cluttered. It's kept simple, with clean, uncluttered lines and colours that are reminiscent of nature. So think about muted, earthy colours, and you're on the right track. The last point is respecting other people regardless of status. I've said this before, and it's something that I'm so aware of here. It's one that I love, and I've come to eagerly accept living in Norway. It doesn't matter whether you're the king of Norway or someone sweeping the road. Everyone is treated with the same level of respect. And everyone has a place in society. And everybody deserves to be treated the same. So I hope that gives you a little insight into Nordic life and how it looks from my point of view, how it feels in my life and the things that we hold true and we keep tight in my family. But of course, Nordic living can be whatever you choose to make it. And aspects of Nordic life can be embraced as you want or left behind. So in the next few episodes, we're going to be exploring different types of Nordic living and the things that you might want to embrace in your own life. So I'll see you very soon. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the Living a Nordic Life newsletters so you can get an email when I release a new episode. It's a quick and easy way to keep up with all things Nordic living. Please visit livinganordiclife.com. You can listen to Living a Nordic Life on lots of podcast apps, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and plenty of others. If you've enjoyed the Living a Nordic Life podcast, why not leave me a rating? So that's the end of Living a Nordic Life for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.